Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you today about the Bologna process and the vocational education and training. And what I'm going to do, I've done some research and I've written a paper which is currently under review, and I'm theorizing the consequences of the current education system in Albania and how they interact with one another. So let me go on and let me talk to you about what the Bologna process and vocational educational training. For our purposes here in the presentation, I've initialed Bologna process as the BP and the vocational educational training as VET, and this is how I'm going to refer to it from now on. What is a Bologna process? Bologna process is an educational system. It was developed in 1998 at the University of Sorbonne in Paris, and it came as an initiative by the ministers of the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Italy, who sought to connect university throughout Europe to have a education system similar to that of the United States. However, it's been widely argued and discussed that its intention was also to harmonize all European university educational institutions. However, much of it has also been contested, and yet its role in its harmonization is yet unclear. The vocational educational training, or VET programs, is the equivalent of what the Korean technical educational training in the United States is the equivalent of the CTE. It mostly describes post-secondary training in technical fields such as plumbing, carpentry, electricity, and things that require a certain set of skills for the employees to join the workforce. So what I've done, my aim for the paper or my research that I've conducted was to explore the current state of vocational education and training. Moreover, to explore the state of what VET programs are and what is currently happening. I have theorized that the attendance of the higher education program hinders the development of VET programs, and the way I've done so, I've looked at an overall view of the higher education and the Bologna process, and then I've sought some relationships to the VET program, and at the end I've reviewed some consequences of the BP's attention over some VET programs. So let me start out with an introduction about what is this all. Like many other European countries, upon the fall of the regime and the change of democratic changes, Albania experienced significant transformational changes, and education was certainly one of those elements of change. And in 2004, Albania first adopted the Bologna process, and it built all of its educational reform upon the Bologna process guideline. So it was a very good initiative. It was welcomed. It was perceived as a good initiative, and also the suggestions were taken into account, and the educational reforms were built upon it. So what I did is, in order for me to understand how VET programs function and to have an understanding about what they currently are doing and what they're offering, I sought to go back in time and sought information about how and when and how can VET develop to what it is today. So I went back and I found that in 1921, the educational line, it attempted to consolidate all vocational public school. What it did is the schools were scattered around the country, so we wanted to consolidate them under one policy. At that time was the highest credential that one could achieve. Of course, that was no longer the case in 1957, when Albania founded its first university in Tirana. Of course, the new reformal changes have to be revised. Those VET programs were not the highest earning degree that could be obtained as it was in 1921. So we had a new reforms in VET program. In 1995, the government required all Albanian citizens to either attend a VET program school or pursue higher education studies. An outcome of that was the intention that we could educate the entire workforce. However, many have chose to join the military to bypass both of the programs. In 2002, Law number 8872 secured the funding from government resources for vocational technical program. Much of this law has been contested. The reason why is its effectiveness has long been contested in regards to effectiveness and efficiency. However, my intention is to see an overall view of how it's developed rather than see the effectiveness of each step of it. So what I did, I took stock of what is currently happening in education. I went on, and what I saw is that the VET programs currently have a very high dropout rates that integrate employment. Of course, that's an issue because VET programs integrate workforce with the employment. Therefore, if we have high dropout rate on the vet schools, that means we're not producing as much labor as the industry or the private sector demands. So, and that's a problem that has social, educational, and an economic effect. And then I went on to see, and I saw that the Albania has the highest brain drain per capita in Europe and one of the highest in the world. The problem with a brain drain is not that the skills are not out there to be taught or to be received, but rather is that the existing skills are seeking work elsewhere. Many have chosen to come to North America, Western Europe, or if even farther beyond the ocean to Australia or other countries where they can better utilize their skills. Moreover, there is a substantial scientific personnel that carries little to no research. The amount of people that conduct research is substantial, but the research is yet to come. Usually, the higher the scientific personnel, the higher the funds, usually the more research is expected to come out of university and educational institutions. However, currently this is not the case in Albania. There is a high student to faculty ratio. Of course, the higher the ratio of faculty to student, the poor of quality will the lessons be taught, the poor the research will come out, and poor effort. And partly that was driven by the large gap between part and full-time students, because the more of a part-time student, the more difficult it is to convey and to convey your thoughts and to actually arrange the logistic of meeting and exchanging the opinions and working on and collaborating. The lack of funding and incentive to advance research work, in other words, is that there is not enough incentives to work. Although we do have, and that is the reason why we do have a very large scientific personnel, as I stated earlier, because there is so many scientific personnel, but yet research is not coming due largely part to lack of fundings and other incentives that come along with research. A governmental report that came out of the Ministry of Education and Science suggested that the more comprehensive system is required to resolve the problem. In fact, this is very important. The reason why it's important is because in a world that that the government works for the people and acknowledges the problem, that means that the prompt action will be soon taken, whether that is how to go through bureaucratic courses like it always does in the government. That's something to be seen. But as of right now, what we need to ensure is that the problem is being acknowledged. This is my favorite picture. We have an elephant and a monkey and penguin and other animals, and we talk about our education system, and we have a guy who says that in order for you to pass the exam, everybody needs to climb the tree. Of course, some people are do not have quite the skill for a certain outcome. Thus, we need to adopt the education system to a more appropriate state of skills level. Private research, moreover, so when the fund is not existent, there is a rough average of about 29% increase in VET programs. However, what comes with it is a 72 increase rate in higher education. The increase rate of higher education is almost 3 or 4 times higher than the VET programs. While the participation rate in the VET programs are positive, when we see the participation in higher education, we do have a problem because we do have a disproportionate between what the labor demands and what we are producing. Education sector is actually encouraging and promotes entrepreneurial learning, but yet what we need to realize is, I want to go back to the example of the tree, that not everyone is expected to become an entrepreneur. Some are expected to go into arts, some are expected to go into crafts, and some are expected to go into manufacturing. In other words, what we need to is how can we best utilize what we have rather than attempt to provide the entrepreneur skills to everyone. Albania also adopted the Albanian qualification network, was a structure that legislated the VET structure. However, it's proven more of a liability, and it's been very difficult to cope with the country. So now that I took stock, what I saw to do was to see the implications between the BP and the VET program. So what I did is I went on and I saw that the higher education law has been established over the according to the Bologna Process guideline. Students in higher education topped over 124,000. But yet, although we have such a high participation, the rigorous research is yet to develop. What we have seen also is we have seen a massification of higher education. We have more people going on to higher education than we do have in VET programs. Well, why that is a positive thing, what we have to remember is that also the unemployment rate has increased because we have a surplus of labor coming out of university rather than the VET program law defines basic principle and the overall structure of the development of a common VET structure. However, even though there is high participation rate in VET programs, the transition link between VET schools and the companies is progressively weakened. That's very disturbing, because in other words, what we're doing, we are massive, and we're just simply sending students to VET schools, but yet they don't have the adequate skills to perform when they do get a job upon graduation. Although there have been substantial investment in VET programs and studies that pertaining to VET programs, concerns there are a lot of concerns about the effectiveness of VET schools, and hence the quality of VET has been reported lower than average level rates. And as so, I came to some conclusions. So there are imminent results show that there is a program, but progress is not quite sufficient to fulfill market demand. And then I saw university and VET schools are not properly aligned with sufficiently with one another and the labor market, and it does not service labor market. So the labor market is underserved. In other words, we're hindering the capability of the companies to expand and grow their profits and open more employment positions. Both developments have created large obstacles in the development and the modernization of Albania, and they are hindering some of its potential to continue on and modernize. There are some prominent issues with the immediate impact that have stemmed by both systems. The university rates are 6 times higher than those of VET programs, where there is a labor shortage. In other words, we do have a misbalance between what it should be and what it is. Moreover, system inefficiencies are attributed to both systems. The Albanians' human capitals have increased, and they are being rewarded handsomely. In other words, all these they do have the rewards, they do have the skills, and they're being rewarded elsewhere, not in Albania though. The higher education has increased attendance, but also with the attendance has increased unemployment rate and is not being properly rewarded. However, both systems have step issues, and Albania is currently trying to cope with, and most importantly is that higher education is the preferred choice over the VET programs, VET schooling, because society encourages and places a higher value. Of course, that was the case in 1957 when the first university was founded, because now, remember, from 1921 to 1951, VET schools were no longer the highest degree that one could obtain. But what we do now is that we have a problem that we need to understand, that society has to have a better understanding that we'll need carpenters, we'll need electricians, we'll need plumbers, we'll need people that have a certain set of skills in order to modernize the economy and move forward and create the balance between what market demands and what the schools are supplying. These are a few of the references, a handful of references that I've used and consulted throughout my research. And if you'd like to further talk to me about any questions or anything like that, I could be reached at www.indridvucai.com and at my email indrid.vucai@okstate.com. And I'm looking forward to your comments. Thank you.